Do you think Bhutan is ready for democracy?
Personally, no.
The biggest weapon America has is not nuclear bombs or atom bombs, but it's westernization.
We've been cushioned and protected from the outside world, from all bad influences, and a lot of people don't want to see that go.
That is leading to a growing frustration. That's leading to growing social unrest.
People don't understand democracy. They wish that it was just a dream.
I don't know how things are going to turn out. The last Shangri-La might be lost forever.
The Kingdom of Bhutan is often described as the last Shangri-La, a mythical Buddhist paradise, untouched by the outside world. Nestled in the Himalayas between India and Tibet, it's a land of ancient tradition, tirelessly preserved by its people. For the past 100 years, Bhutan's been ruled by a dynasty of kings who kept the outside world at bay to protect the country's culture. Travel here is restricted, and few foreigners ever get the chance to see it. But I'd spoken about Bhutan with my mother-in-law, Julia, who'd advised the king on behalf of the UN, and she encouraged me to go see why everything the Bhutanese hold dear was suddenly under attack.
The closer you get, the more incredible it gets. I can definitely tell you that when I was 9 years old, I wasn't that chill.
It's Bhutan's style to take it slow. Development isn't as important here as the country's overall sense of well-being. Instead of measuring success through gross national product, Bhutan uses gross national happiness, which puts the well-being of its citizens above all else. The pillars of gross national happiness include preserving the country's culture and natural environment. 70% of the country is covered in forests, making it a net absorber and not emitter of greenhouse gases. And to preserve their culture, everyone wears the traditional dress, to work and to school. The official religion is Tantric Buddhism, and traditional decorations are everywhere.
So all over Bhutan, people paint penises on the walls of their homes, of buildings, to gain the protection of a 16th century Buddhist figure known as the Divine Madman, who supposedly warded off evil spirits with his penis.
But the biggest threat to Bhutan's traditional culture can't be warded off with a giant penis. Less than 10 years ago, Bhutan became the last country in the world to introduce television, after decades of resisting.
What's happening with the introduction of TV is that people are thinking more, and then they're coming to know what's happening around them also. But at the same time, I think TV also has lots of negative effects. Kids, they get glued to the TV, and I should say that the negative effects weighs more than the good effects. Good influence in the.
So you think it's done more negative for the country than positive?
Yes.
They don't want to give their time in service. Instead, they like watching television, Especially like World Wrestling Federation. That has a lot of influence. So many people like to watch that. But they get more aggressive, and then they think that, they want to try that way also. Like they think this is a real thing.
Parents and teachers complained that kids were becoming hypnotized by pro wrestling. And after fights began breaking out at school, the government banned the channel broadcasting it. But it quickly appeared on other stations.
Was there violence before television?
Oh, well, there are some violence, but not with this kind of violence, you know. I've never seen violence like that. And even some children get into drugs by watching television, you know, smoking of marijuana and whatnot.
And that wasn't a problem before TV?
Yeah, before TV, nobody knew what is marijuana. We used to feed pigs, you know, with marijuana plants.
You used to just feed it to the pigs?
Yeah, feed it to the pigs, and then nobody knew that this is going to smoke.
Marijuana has grown all over Bhutan for as long as anyone can remember. But most people didn't know you could smoke it. Traditionally, they just fed it to the pigs to fatten them up by giving them a mad case of the munchies.
This is it? It's all shake. Oh, but that's the stuff.
Oh, I've seen the pig eating, you know, not moving their body, just moving their head, you know, mouth, and that's funny, very funny.
But now the kids of Bhutan have discovered the plant's narcotic effects as well.
This is Bob Marley. I'm biggest fan of Bob Marley in this world. I love Bob Marley.
This new trend has scared the government so much, it helped prompt them to become the first country in the world to ban the smoking of all tobacco products as well. Now, this might sound like an overreaction, but tradition and the preservation of culture are everything to the Bhutanese. And nothing embodies that tradition like their beloved king, whom they revere like a god.
He's not just a mere person. We say he's a reincarnation of a god. And he is, and he's proved that to us time and again.
He's like our Lord, he's King of Kings.
It's my king, my king. It's my king, man.
Bhutan is a poor country with rich people. Rich in the sense, don't need the wealth to be rich, you know. We have happiness, and our king give us that.
During 3 decades of the king's reign, the population's life expectancy increased by 65%. He made healthcare and education free, and invented the nation's guiding principle of gross national happiness. But it was a recent decision by their godlike king that has the Bhutanese worried for the future of their country. After a century of monarchy, the king announced he'd be handing power over to the people. He couldn't guarantee they would always be ruled by a good king, so it was best that they learn to govern themselves. People were devastated.
I've always been apprehensive of democracy. The idea of having the power suddenly transferred to the people is not something that we've been waiting for or we wanted.
For a lot of people outside Bhutan, you'd be like, oh my god, I've been waiting for this my whole life, you know? But for people here, they started crying.
For 100 years, we had monarchy, and the king took care of everything. What role do I play in the democracy as a citizen? You know, that's the question that people are struggling to understand.
Part of the Bhutanese fear of democracy comes from years of watching their neighbors, India and Nepal.
People, when they look at democracy, they look at India. They see a lot of things that happen in India through television. And the things that happen because of democracy is not good.
With democracy, you're not only ushering in a lot of freedom. When you say freedom, then you see that boundaries are going to get crossed. When boundaries get crossed, people get hurt, and people are afraid that they will get hurt.
Everything is about money, everything is about power. The richest become richer, the poor becomes poorer, and in between the country gets nowhere. The only thing we have, our biggest strength, is not an atom bomb, but it is our unity. All of us believed in our king.
And his vision.
And his vision.
Yeah.
But now, With democracy coming up, we can already see like people are being divided.
The towns are being divided. The villages are being divided. We have incidences where husband is in one political party and the wife is in other political party, and then they have fights between them.
That's new.
That's very new, and it makes us worry more because, you know, in such a small country, if something like that happens, it's very dangerous.
If it can break families, it won't take much time to break a country.
Division in Bhutan actually started years ago. In the early 90s, tens of thousands of Bhutanese of Nepali descent were forced out of the country out of fear that they were diluting the culture. Today, over 100,000 of them are living in refugee camps in Nepal, waiting for their right to return. Dubbed the international problem, it's a topic most Bhutanese don't like to talk about. Another big issue is what's called the youth problem. Over 50% of Bhutan's population is under the age of 25, and the king has told them that the future of the country is in their hands. But young Bhutanese face a variety of social pressures, fueling new problems. This is Dorji Wangchuk, a local filmmaker. When I met him, he was waiting for the government to approve the release of his first feature, based on the youth problem.
The film addresses a lot of the problems facing the youth,
yes.
Right? What are those issues?
This very fast track to modernization. I mean, you must understand that Bhutan was almost a medieval state until the 1960s. Then modern education was brought in, urbanization started. We got something about 100,000 youth out from their farms into the job market. The supply far exceeded the demand, and so many young guys were unemployed. That is leading to a growing frustration, that's leading to growing social unrest, and that's leading to what we have defined as the youth problems.
Petty street crime has hit Bhutan, something that was once unheard of.
Have you guys seen a rise in gang activity? Yeah?
Sure. Yeah. You know why this was not there in Bhutan before? Because there was no television. But now they see, you know, everything that goes, all these fights, all this, like, you know, hoodlums on TV, like gang fights. Personally, I say it's the television, I say it's westernization.
I was introduced to some of the kids Bhutan is most worried about. This is Bacteria, Bhutan's most notorious street gang.
What are some of the hard things facing Bhutan right now?
Unemployment. See, even if you go to find a job, they take an interview. It's true that they interview all the people, but the ones who get selected are from the rich backgrounds.
Some of them were concerned that their problems could get even worse with the shift in government.
I don't think that gross national happiness is gonna be survive in the future also. So I've got a fear of that.
So you're worried that gross national happiness won't continue because of democracy?
Because just now we are having a smile on our face due to our gross national happiness, only because of that. So I feel that in future, maybe our smile may be lost.
But not all of Bhutan's youth are as pessimistic as Bacteria. This is Sonam Yangcheng. After graduating college in the US, she returned home to run for parliament.
Like our king says, you know, when I talk about future, I'm talking about the youths, you know, so I think it's important for the youth because they're going to be the future generations. I mean, those the things, the policies that we actually have right now or we're going to implement will be affecting their lives, you know. They should have a say in it.
But upcoming politicians like Sonam have a challenge. 70% of Bhutan's population live in rural communities, and most of them are illiterate. Many live several days' walk from the nearest road.
If you travel across rural Bhutan, you still see people, you know, struggling to understand, you know, their right to vote.
There's a big push to educate Bhutan's rural voters. This theater group travels around the country, putting on plays that explain the election process.
Before democracy, I thought, what is democracy? This is bullshit. I thought like that, but joining here, I'm very proud because I can do some social work, so they could understand better about this new system.
The next day, they invited me to a play they were putting on about political corruption to be televised around the country.
I don't exactly know what this has to do with teaching political corruption, and I'm beginning to see why a lot of the population is confused about democracy.
It turned out they were just warming up. But once they got going, the meaning became clear. It was a parable about the importance of thinking before casting your vote. And education efforts like this seem to be paying off. The first campaign rally in Bhutan drew people from all over the capital city, intrigued by this new form of government. Over 1,000 people gathered for an evening of speeches and entertainment. Change had come to their earthly paradise, and they were beginning to accept it.